Today I'm going to be talking about media bias, and we have a real big problem in our society. The places that are supposed to give us the news are not giving us the whole story. Every media source has some type of bias, and it's tearing our country apart. Reporters will purposely swing stories to fit the political belief of the news organization that they represent, and they will purposely leave out vital bits of information that cause social unrest. Uh, they don't care who they're hurting. All they want to do is just make money based on how many clicks and views they receive. So, a little bit about my backstory. I was in newspaper class for 3 years, and one of the biggest topics that we discussed was media bias. But this topic really struck me, and I started looking at the news sources from all around. The left ones that are MSNBC, CNN, and the New York Times. The right ones such as Fox News, Daily News, and the Washington Post. And when I would look at these news sources, I realized that different news organizations had different headlines and different material in their news articles about the same events that were happening. These titles were to catch the attention of their audiences so that they could get more clicks. Most of the time, if you look at the home pages of the stories, the stuff they choose to put in the little slider clicker thing are different. These stories make people believe that their side is right and the other side is wrong. This causes arguments to start, friendships to break, and ultimately what we saw earlier last year, many protests, which were violent and destructive. I find it very interesting to read the language that each side uses to try to get clicks. For example, there's two stories about Vladimir Putin, one on CNN. Their headline is White House responds to Russia's decision to put deterrence forces on high alert. And then the one on Fox News is GOP leader reveals why Putin raised alert for largest stockpile of nuclear warheads prepared to launch. This is very different, and it makes people believe that their side is right and no other side is right. More and more people these days are getting their news from social media than ever before, and social media giants such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are not doing a good job at helping this problem either. This is from Arkansas Journal of Social Change and Public Service. Social media has started to allow news stories to be uploaded to their websites, and people are just starting to receive all their news from social media. According to Reuters Institute in 2017, 71% of Facebook users received their news from Facebook. YouTube was at 56%, Twitter was at 26%, and Instagram was at 23%. I can only assume that those numbers are higher now. The way social media engines work are they're programmed to show you news stories and other users that they think you will like based on what you click on. This just adds to people's belief that they are right and the other side is wrong, because if you don't see the other side's story, then you just believe what you're told. One thing that had a ton of fake news on social media was the coronavirus. There was so much uncertainty about it. Some people were saying it was fake. Some people were saying it was real. Some were saying that the first person who got it ate bat feces. Some people were saying it was genetically made in a lab. Nobody really knew. And now that the COVID vaccine is out, there's still some social unrest. Some people are saying it makes women unfertile. Some people are saying the government put a chip in the shot to track us, and many more things. And you really can't trust your social media for news. Many people will say, but media bias has been around forever. How is it different in 2022? Because of how easily you can receive the news. You can just go on your phone and go on social media. You can go on your computer and go on news websites. You can turn on your television and watch the 24/7 news. Or if you're old-fashioned, you can read the paper. It's easy for people to be receiving fake news or biased news without them even realizing. The media is now instant. If something happens, you can see a video of it 5 minutes later when somebody posts it. The big problem now is that people know too much and they have way too much power in their hands, with the news being 24/7. Back even 40 to 50 years ago, the news was 9 to 5, and the television channels even stopped broadcasting at 12 p.m. Newspapers now have political affiliation with them, which was not the case in the past. That is from the Library of Law at Howard. In the past, the newspaper would just tell you the facts of the day, and they would have some bias in their headlines, but not as much as all of the news just constantly being pounded on you 24/7. Um, some events that have happened over last summer have really got me scared for the future of our country because of media bias. The media is such a strong grasp on people that they believe that their view is right and the other side is wrong. There have been so many protests over the past 2 years that I feel like if one big thing happens, then the whole country is going to explode and something bad will happen. Um, some of these protests were sparked by the media, including the Black Lives Matter protests and the protests after the election of Joe Biden into office. The Black Lives Matter protests started because media companies showed bystanders videos of white police officers killing African Americans. But this has bias to it. I'm not saying that uh, black people don't die to police officers, but there's also white people that die to white police officers. There's black people that die to black police officers. There's always going to be bad apples. A brief history of civil rights in the United States. Uh, Actually, this fact is from it. Black Lives Matter campaign began back in 2013, but didn't gain a large following until it was picked up by the media in 2020. Uh, Another example is the protests after the elections. The elections had a lot of controversy over it. Media companies told Republicans that the reason Donald Trump lost was because mail-in ballots and voter fraud. There was a lot of lost ballots that were just thrown on the side of the road, the media outlets were saying. But nobody had any proof that this happened. And so the Republicans stormed the White House, and we all know how that went down. Both of these protests are a great example of how the media doesn't care who they're hurting or what danger they're putting on the country. They only care about the clicks and views. So to wrap it up, I think that media bias shouldn't be a case. You shouldn't be able to swing your stories to a political affiliation. You should just report the news and say all the facts and let the people really do what they want with the facts. They can understand it how they want to. And overall, media bias, I think, will always be around because of how instant the news is and how easy it is for people to get their information. But as a future generation, we need to understand that we can't take everything as the unbiased truth. You have to be able to do your research. But yeah, if we can do this and truly try to see stories from all sides, we may be able to have a more peaceful and caring society